The artificial gravity hummed beneath Nathan's feet as he adjusted his dress uniform for the third time in 10 minutes. The Meridian Research Station's main reception hall stretched before him like a crystalline cathedral, its transparent aluminum walls offering a breathtaking view of Europa's ice-covered surface below. Jupiter loomed in the distance, its great red spot a swirling reminder that he was very, very far from home. "Stop fidgeting," Nathan muttered to himself, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's just a diplomatic reception, not a job interview." Though considering his recent performance reviews, perhaps it was both. Dr. Reginald Harrison, the station director, had made it abundantly clear that Nathan's social skills needed improvement if he wanted to advance in the xenolinguistics department. The quantum-stabilized air recyclers whispered overhead as Nathan surveyed the growing crowd of scientists, diplomats, and military personnel. Most wore the standard Federation dress blues, but scattered throughout were individuals in more exotic attire, representatives from the various allied species that had joined humanity among the stars. He spotted a Centauran delegation near the bioluminescent refreshment table, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the artificial lighting. "Dar. Pierce." A voice behind him made Nathan turn. Commander Rodriguez, the station's security chief, approached with her characteristic no-nonsense stride. "The cultural liaison from the Veil 3 delegation has arrived. Director Harrison wants you to handle the initial greeting protocols." Nathan's stomach performed what felt like a zero-gravity tumble. The Veil 3 were humanity's newest potential allies, and this was their first official diplomatic contact. No pressure whatsoever. Right, of course. Cultural sensitivity training at its finest. Don't mention their ears, don't ask about their lifespans, and definitely don't bring up the incident with the Rigelian ambassador and the chocolate fountain. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. There was no incident with a chocolate fountain. Yet, Nathan replied with a grin. "The night is young." As Rodriguez walked away, shaking her head, Nathan spotted his target near the observation deck's entrance. Even from across the room, she was impossible to miss. The woman, if that was the appropriate term, stood with the kind of poise that suggested either diplomatic training or predatory instincts. Her hair cascaded down her back in waves of deep auburn, and her skin possessed an almost luminescent quality under the station's lighting. But it was her dress that truly caught Nathan's attention. The garment seemed to shift and flow like liquid starlight, its fabric displaying patterns that reminded him of aurora displays he'd seen in Earth's polar regions. The material appeared to respond to movement, creating subtle ripples of color that danced across its surface. Nathan approached, mentally rehearsing the formal greeting protocols he'd studied. The Veil 3 valued directness and authenticity, according to the briefing materials. No flowery diplomatic language, no empty pleasantries. Just honest communication. "Dr. Pierce, I presume?" Her voice carried a melodic quality that seemed to resonate in harmonics Nathan could feel as much as hear. As she turned to face him fully, he caught sight of her ears, elegantly pointed and slightly elongated, the only obvious physical difference from baseline humanity. "That's me," Nathan replied, extending his hand. "Though I should warn you, my colleagues have been known to describe me as diplomatically challenged. I once accidentally started a trade war by mispronouncing a greeting in Altarian." She accepted his handshake, and Nathan noticed her grip was surprisingly firm. "I am Liana of the Veil 3 Collective. And I find your honesty refreshing, Dr. Pierce." Most diplomats would have simply claimed fluency in 17 languages and left out the part about the trade war. Well, technically it was only a minor trade dispute. And we sorted it out once someone explained that I basically called their ambassador's mother a small, inefficient spacecraft. Nathan felt some of his nervousness dissolve. Liana's smile seemed genuine, not the practiced expression he'd expected from a career diplomat. "Ah, yes. The perils of xenolinguistics. Tell me, Dr. Pierce, how many languages do you actually speak?" "Fluently. 3. Conversationally. About 12. Badly enough to cause interstellar incidents." Apparently 17 and counting. Nathan gestured toward the refreshment area. Can I interest you in some Earth delicacies? We've got genuine coffee from the Brazilian orbital farms, and I'm told the chocolate is actual chocolate, not the synthetic stuff they usually serve on deep space assignments. As they walked, Nathan found himself stealing glances at Liona's dress. The pattern seemed more active now, swirling and shifting in ways that defied his understanding of textile technology. I have to say, that dress is absolutely remarkable. The fabric appears to be some kind of programmable matter, but the way it responds to environmental stimuli is unlike anything I've seen in Federation databases. Liona paused mid-step, and Nathan caught a flicker of something, surprise. Calculation, across her features. You find it remarkable? More than remarkable. It's stunning. The way the patterns flow and shift, it's like wearing a piece of living art. That dress looks amazing on you. The words tumbled out before Nathan could apply his usual social filters, and he immediately felt heat rise in his cheeks. I mean, from a purely technical standpoint. The integration of form and function is extraordinary. The moment his compliment left his lips, several things happened simultaneously. The dress's patterns suddenly intensified, cascades of silver and gold rippling across its surface like waves on a digital ocean. The lights in the reception hall dimmed slightly, and Nathan heard the unmistakable hum of security barriers activating. Nathan said, looking around as blast shutters began sliding across the observation windows. Is this normal? Liona's expression had transformed from diplomatic pleasantness to something far more focused and intense. Dr. Pierce, I need you to remain calm. Remain calm. Nathan watched as the main exit sealed itself with a soft pneumatic hiss. The station appears to be going into lockdown, and you're asking me to remain calm? This is either a security drill, an actual emergency, or the universe's way of telling me I should have stuck to studying dead languages. It's none of those things, Liona replied, her voice carrying a new undertone that made Nathan's skin tingle. Your compliment has triggered a cultural protocol I hoped we could avoid. Nathan blinked. My compliment? I said your dress looked nice, not that I wanted to elope to the Andromeda galaxy. How exactly does fashion appreciation lead to emergency lockdown procedures? Around them, the few remaining reception guests were being efficiently evacuated by security personnel who seemed remarkably unsurprised by the situation. Nathan noticed Commander Rodriguez speaking into her comm unit near the sealed entrance, but she appeared more concerned with coordination than panic. The dress is not merely decorative, Dr. Pierce. It's a bioresponsive cultural artifact that serves multiple functions, including the assessment of emotional authenticity. Liona moved closer, and Nathan caught a faint scent like ozone and starlight. Your compliment registered as genuinely sincere, which has activated certain protocols. Protocols, Nathan repeated slowly. What kind of protocols require sealing us in together? Because I have to say, if this is how your people handle compliments, I'm terrified to find out what happens if someone actually asks you on a date. Liona's smile returned, but it carried a predatory edge that made Nathan's pulse quicken for entirely new reasons. That, Dr. Pierce, is precisely what we need to discuss. Nathan paced the length of the sealed chamber, his dress shoes clicking against the polished deck plating in a rhythm that was probably driving Liona insane. Not that she showed it. The veil-free woman sat cross-legged on the floor with an air of serene patience that made Nathan want to scream. So let me get this straight, he said, turning to face her for what felt like the 100th time. Your people have been studying human emotional patterns for decades, and somehow my compliment about your dress triggered what amounts to an alien dating app with security features that would make a maximum security prison jealous. That's a remarkably accurate summary, Liona replied, her pointed ears twitching slightly in what Nathan was beginning to recognize as amusement. Though I prefer to think of it as a cultural compatibility assessment rather than a dating application. Nathan stopped pacing and stared at her. Cultural compatibility assessment. Right. Because that sounds so much less terrifying than, trapped by advanced alien technology because I said you looked nice. He gestured at the sealed doors. How long exactly do these assessments usually take? That depends entirely on the participants, Lyanna said, rising gracefully to her feet. Her dress continued its mesmerizing display of shifting patterns, now showing what looked like star charts from sectors Nathan didn't recognize. The Veil 3 courtship protocols are designed to determine genuine emotional connection through a series of graduated exchanges. Courtship protocols, Nathan repeated weakly. Of course. Because apparently I've accidentally proposed marriage by commenting on fashion. He ran both hands through his hair. My mother always said I'd find love in the most unexpected places, but I'm pretty sure she was thinking more along the lines of a library or a coffee shop, not an alien containment field. Lyanna's laugh was like crystal chimes in a gentle breeze. You haven't proposed anything, Dr. Pierce. But your emotional response to my appearance was detected as authentic by the bioscanners integrated into my clothing. Such genuine reactions are rare among your species during first contact situations. Rare? Nathan blinked. What do you mean rare? Humans compliment each other all the time. It's practically our national pastime, right after complaining about weather and making awkward small talk in elevators. Ah, but there's the difference. Lyanna moved closer, and Nathan caught that strange starlight scent again. Most human compliments during diplomatic encounters are calculated social gestures. Your response was immediate, unfiltered, and entirely honest. The bioscanners detected elevated pulse rate, dilated pupils, and a specific pattern of neural activity that indicates genuine aesthetic appreciation. Nathan felt his cheeks burning. So basically, your dress is equipped with the galaxy's most sophisticated lie detector, and I failed spectacularly at being diplomatically neutral. You succeeded at being authentically human, Lyanna corrected. Which is precisely what my people have been searching for. Searching for? The pieces were starting to fall into place in Nathan's mind, and he didn't like the picture they were forming. Wait a minute. Are you telling me this wasn't a coincidence? That I wasn't randomly assigned to handle cultural liaison duties? Lyanna's expression grew more serious, though her eyes still held that glimmer of amusement. Dr. Nathan Pierce, xenolinguist, age 32, born in New Geneva, Earth. Graduated summa cum laude from the University of Luna with degrees in comparative linguistics and xenocultural studies. Currently serving aboard Meridian Station as a specialist in first contact protocols. That's all public record, Nathan said slowly. Anyone could look that up. Psychological evaluation indicates high empathy scores, unusual capacity for authentic emotional expression, and a tendency to use humor as a social bonding mechanism even in stressful situations, Lyanna continued. Genetic markers suggest compatibility with Veil 3 neural interface protocols. No significant romantic attachments on record. Nathan stared at her. Okay, now you're just showing off. And also being mildly creepy. Please tell me you don't have files on everyone in Starfleet. Only the interesting ones, Lyanna replied with a smile that was definitely predatory now. The Veil 3 Collective has been monitoring human development for several decades, Dr. Pierce. We've been waiting for your species to reach a level of emotional and technological sophistication that would allow for true cultural exchange. Cultural exchange, Nathan repeated. Is that what we're calling this? Because from where I'm standing, it looks more like kidnapping with extra steps. The containment field will release us when certain conditions are met, Lyanna explained. Think of it as a safety protocol designed to ensure that any potential partnership between our species is based on genuine connection rather than diplomatic necessity. Nathan looked around the sealed chamber, noting the soft blue glow emanating from the walls that suggested some kind of energy field was maintaining their isolation. Partnership. Right. And what exactly does this partnership entail? Because I should probably mention that I'm terrible at long-distance relationships, and I imagine the commute to Veil 3 space is a nightmare. The Veil Three are a collective consciousness, Dr. Pierce. We experience emotions and thoughts on a shared level that allows for unprecedented cooperation and understanding. Liona's dress patterns shifted to show what looked like interconnected neural networks. But this shared consciousness also means we struggle to understand species that prioritize individual experience over collective harmony. So you need humans to teach you how to be selfish and antisocial? Nathan grinned. Because honestly, we've got that down to an art form. I once saw two humans argue for 3 hours about the proper way to load a dishwasher. We need humans who can bridge the gap between individual and collective consciousness, Liona corrected. Individuals who can maintain their personal identity while participating in a shared mental network. Your psychological profile suggests you might be capable of such integration. Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. Integration. You mean like some kind of mental connection? Telepathy? Among other things, Liona said. The Veil 3 neural interface would grant you access to our collective knowledge, extended lifespan, and abilities your species would consider supernatural. In exchange, you would serve as a cultural ambassador, helping us understand human individuality. Let me guess, Nathan said, backing away from her slightly. This is the part where you tell me it's completely voluntary, right up until I discover the fine print involves surrendering my free will to the galactic hive mind. Nothing like that, Liona assured him, though her smile suggested she was enjoying his discomfort. The neural interface preserves individual identity while allowing voluntary participation in collective experiences. Think of it as social networking for consciousness. Nathan stared at her for a long moment. Did you just compare alien mind control to social media? Because I have to say, that's either the most reassuring or the most terrifying analogy I've ever heard. Your humor is one of the traits that makes you suitable for this role, Liona said. The ability to find levity in complex situations is surprisingly rare among sapient species. Great, Nathan muttered. I'm being recruited by aliens because I make dad jokes under pressure. This is either the best or worst career move I've ever stumbled into. He looked at the sealed doors again. So what happens if I say no? Do the doors open and we pretend this never happened? The protocols require a decision, Liona replied. But the choice is genuinely yours, Dr. Pierce. The Veil 3 do not believe in coercion. However, I should mention that the evaluation process involves several stages of increasing intimacy. Intimacy, Nathan repeated, his voice climbing an octave. What kind of intimacy are we talking about here? Because I should probably mention that I'm the kind of guy who gets nervous holding hands on a first date. Liona's laugh filled the chamber like music. Emotional intimacy, Dr. Pierce. The sharing of genuine thoughts and feelings. Though I suppose that might be more terrifying for humans than physical contact. Nathan considered this. You know what? You're probably right. I'd rather wrestle a Centauran war beast than have a conversation about my feelings. This is going to be a very long day. The bioluminescent panels on the walls pulsed with a soft rhythm that Nathan realized matched his heartbeat. Either the station's environmental systems had developed an unsettling level of sophistication, or Liona's dress was broadcasting his vital signs to the containment field. Neither possibility was particularly comforting. So, Nathan said, settling onto the floor across from Liona, how exactly does this emotional intimacy thing work? Do we take turns sharing our deepest fears, or is there some kind of alien questionnaire involved? Please tell me it's not one of those personality tests where you have to choose between saving a drowning puppy or a historical artifact. The process is organic, Liona replied, her dress now displaying patterns that looked suspiciously like EKG readings. The bioscanners monitor our emotional states and respond to genuine connection. Each authentic exchange weakens the containment field slightly. Nathan glanced at the sealed doors. Weakens how slightly? Are we talking about a gradual fade over hours, or more like a cosmic calendar where slightly means geological timescales? That depends on how honest you're willing to be, Lioness said. Deception or emotional barriers strengthen the field exponentially. I've heard of individuals who attempted to manipulate the process and remained contained for weeks. Weeks? Nathan's voice cracked. Okay, new plan. Total honesty it is. I'm terrible at lying anyway. Once tried to convince my academy roommate that I hadn't eaten his chocolate stash while my face was literally covered in cocoa powder. Lioness smiled, and Nathan noticed the containment field's blue glow flickered almost imperceptibly. An encouraging start. Tell me, Dr. Pierce, what drew you to xenolinguistics? Most humans prefer studying their own species. Nathan considered deflecting with another joke, but something in Lioness's expression suggested the bioscanners would detect evasion instantly. Honestly, I've never felt particularly comfortable around my own species. Humans are complicated. We say one thing and mean another, we have social rules that change depending on context, and we're constantly judging each other based on criteria that shift without warning. And you find aliens less complicated? Lioness's pointed ears twitched with amusement. Aliens are complicated in predictable ways, Nathan said. When a Rigelian bares their teeth, they're being friendly. When a Centauran clicks their mandibles, they're annoyed. Simple, consistent, logical. Humans smile when they're happy, angry, nervous, plotting revenge, or trying to sell you something. It's like trying to decode a language where every word has 17 different meanings depending on the speaker's mood, the weather, and what they had for breakfast. The containment field flickered again, more noticeably this time. Lioness nodded approvingly. Your discomfort with human social complexity explains your high empathy scores. You've learned to read emotional nuance as a survival mechanism. That makes me sound like some kind of emotional savant, Nathan laughed. Trust me, I'm really not. I once spent 3 hours convinced my department head was furious with me because she said, "Good morning," in a slightly different tone than usual. Turned out she was just congested. But you noticed the difference, Lioness pointed out. Most individuals would have dismissed such subtle variations. Nathan felt a strange tingling sensation, like static electricity building in the air around them. Speaking of noticing differences, your bioscanners are remarkably sophisticated. I'm guessing they're monitoring more than just emotional responses. Neural activity patterns, stress hormones, microexpressions, vocal fluctuations, Lioness confirmed. The dress is essentially a portable empathy amplifier designed to detect authentic connection between individuals. An empathy amplifier, Nathan repeated. So you're basically wearing a lie detector that doubles as formal wear. That's either the most useful or most terrifying piece of technology I've ever encountered. Both, depending on your perspective, Lioness agreed. The Veil 3 value emotional authenticity above all else. Deception is not merely discouraged in our culture, it's physiologically difficult for us to maintain. Nathan studied her face, noting the way her expression remained consistently open and engaging. That explains why you're handling this situation with such equanimity. You literally can't pretend to be uncomfortable with being trapped in here with a nervous human who talks too much when he's anxious. I'm not pretending anything, Lioness said, leaning forward slightly. I find your nervousness endearing, and your tendency to use humor as a coping mechanism is genuinely charming. The bioscanners confirm that you're not attempting deception, you're simply processing stress through verbal expression. The tingling sensation intensified, and Nathan realized the containment field was responding to their exchange. Is it just me, or is the room getting warmer? Please tell me that's not some kind of alien mating ritual trigger, because I should probably mention that I'm really not ready for that level of cultural exchange. Lioness laughed, a sound like silver bells in a gentle breeze. The temperature increase indicates that the bioscanners are detecting genuine emotional resonance between us. Nothing more dramatic than that. Emotional resonance, Nathan muttered. Right. Because apparently I can't even have a simple conversation without triggering alien courtship technology. He paused, considering something. Wait a minute. If this dress is monitoring my emotional state, does that mean you know exactly how I'm feeling about you? To some extent, Liana admitted. The bioscanners indicate elevated interest, physical attraction, and significant anxiety about the implications of both. Nathan buried his face in his hands. Great. So much for maintaining any semblance of dignity. I'm basically an open book to advanced alien technology. If it helps, Liana said gently, the readings are mutual. Nathan looked up sharply. Mutual? The bioscanners work both ways, Dr. Pierce. Your emotional state affects the dress patterns, but my responses are equally visible to the monitoring systems. Liana gestured to her garment, where new patterns were emerging, spirals of gold and silver that seemed to pulse with a rhythm entirely different from Nathan's heartbeat. So you're saying that we're both being monitored by a dress that's essentially serving as a real-time compatibility assessment tool? Nathan grinned. This is either the most scientifically advanced first date in human history, or the setup for a really elaborate practical joke. I prefer to think of it as an experiment in interspecies communication, Liana replied. Though your first date hypothesis isn't entirely inaccurate. Nathan felt something shift in the air around them, like the moment before a thunderstorm when the atmosphere becomes charged with potential. Liana, can I ask you something? And I want you to be completely honest. I'm assuming your bioscanners will detect any deception anyway. Of course. Was any of this real? Nathan gestured between them. Your interest, I mean. Or am I just a particularly interesting test subject who happened to trigger the right emotional responses? Liana was quiet for a long moment, her dress patterns shifting through what looked like complex mathematical equations. That's a more complicated question than you might realize, Dr. Pierce. My assignment was to evaluate your suitability for the cultural exchange program. The protocols required me to trigger the compatibility assessment. Nathan felt his stomach drop. So this was all calculated. The dress, the compliment trigger, everything. The setup was calculated, Liana agreed. But the Veil-3 bioscanners cannot fabricate emotional responses. What you're detecting from me, the interest, the attraction, the growing affection. Those are genuine reactions that I did not anticipate. The containment field pulsed brighter, and Nathan heard a soft chime from somewhere in the walls. What was that? Progress indicator, Liana said, looking pleased. Your willingness to ask difficult questions, and my honest response, have advanced us to the next phase of the evaluation. Nathan groaned. There are phases? How many phases are there? Please tell me we're not looking at some kind of 12-step program for interspecies dating. 3 phases total, Liana assured him. We've just completed phase 2. And phase 3? Nathan asked, though he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to know the answer. Liana's smile took on that predatory edge again. Phase 3 requires complete emotional vulnerability from both participants. Total honesty about our feelings, our fears, and our intentions. Nathan stared at her. You know what? Suddenly being trapped by alien technology doesn't seem like the scariest thing that's happened to me today. Nathan stood in the center of the chamber, watching as Liana's dress displayed what could only be described as a neural network map of staggering complexity. Golden threads connected nodes of silver light in patterns that seemed to shift and evolve as he watched. So let me understand this correctly, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Phase 3 involves me deciding whether to permanently link my consciousness to an alien collective intelligence, thereby gaining telepathic abilities and an extended lifespan, in exchange for serving as humanity's ambassador to a species that experiences reality in ways I can barely comprehend. That's a reasonably accurate summary, Liana replied. Though you're leaving out the part where the neural interface would allow you to experience emotions and thoughts on a level that transcends individual consciousness. Nathan rubbed his temples. Right. The Cosmic Enlightenment package. With a side order of potentially losing my individual identity to a hive mind. He looked at her seriously. Can I ask for references? Maybe chat with some previous volunteers. You would be the first human to undergo the full integration process, Lyanna admitted. Previous contacts have been limited to temporary mental links during diplomatic negotiations. Of course I would be, Nathan laughed. Because apparently my life's mission is to be a test case for increasingly improbable scenarios. He began pacing again, his footsteps echoing in the confined space. What happens if I say no? Not just to the neural interface, but to this entire situation. The containment field releases, you return to your duties aboard Meridian Station, and the Veil 3 continue searching for suitable candidates among your species. Lyanna's patterns shifted to show what looked like star charts again. Though I should mention that the compatibility assessment indicates you may be uniquely suited for this role. Uniquely suited, Nathan repeated. Because nothing says, qualified for cosmic responsibility, like a guy who once got lost in his own apartment building. He stopped pacing and turned to face her. Lyanna, I need you to be completely honest with me. What happens to you if I refuse? Something flickered across Lyanna's expression, surprise, perhaps, or vulnerability. I return to the collective and report that the cultural exchange program requires additional development time. That's not what I asked, Nathan pressed. What happens to you personally? Are there consequences for failing to recruit a human candidate? Lyanna was quiet for a long moment, her dress patterns slowing to a gentle pulse. The Veil 3 do not punish failure in the way humans might understand it. But my emotional investment in this outcome has created complications within the collective consciousness. Complications how? The bioscanners have created a feedback loop, Lyanna explained. My growing attachment to you is being transmitted to the collective in real time. Your emotional responses are affecting hundreds of Veil 3 who are experiencing human individual consciousness for the first time through our connection. Nathan blinked. Are you telling me that an entire alien species is currently experiencing what it's like to have a crush on someone? Among other emotions, Lyanna confirmed, and Nathan caught what might have been embarrassment in her tone. Your humor, your anxiety, your curiosity, all of it is being shared through the neural link my dress maintains with our collective consciousness. So basically, I've accidentally given an entire species of telepaths their first taste of human emotional chaos, Nathan said slowly. That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard, or the most terrifying. Both, Lyanna agreed. Which is why the collective has authorized me to offer you complete transparency about what the neural interface entails. The chamber around them suddenly filled with holographic displays, complex diagrams showing neural pathway modifications, longevity enhancement protocols, and what appeared to be sensory expansion matrices. Nathan whistled low. This is the full technical specification for Veil 3 consciousness integration, Lyanna said. No species has ever been granted access to this information before formal alliance agreements. Nathan studied the displays, his xenolinguistics training helping him parse some of the more technical elements. These modifications, they're not just additive, are they? You're talking about fundamental changes to human brain structure. Reversible changes, Lyanna clarified. The neural interface can be dissolved at any time, though the memories and experiences gained during integration would remain. Reversible, Nathan mused. Like a cosmic trial membership. He turned to look at her directly. What do you want me to do, Lyanna? Not the collective, not the diplomatic mission, you personally. I want you to make the choice that feels right for you, she replied. But I also want you to know that regardless of your decision, this experience has changed me in ways the collective didn't anticipate. Changed you how? I understand now why individual consciousness produces such creative and unpredictable outcomes, Lyanna said. The uncertainty, the personal investment in specific outcomes, the way emotions can conflict with logical analysis, it's simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. Nathan felt the tingling sensation return, stronger than before. And if I choose the neural interface? What happens to us personally? The integration process would create a permanent empathic link between us, Lyanna explained. Not a merger of consciousness, but a shared emotional foundation that would allow for unprecedented cooperation and understanding. A cosmic partnership, Nathan said. With benefits that include telepathy, extended lifespan, and the opportunity to serve as humanity's representative to an alien collective intelligence. He grinned. You know, when you put it like that, it almost sounds reasonable. Does that mean you're considering it? Nathan looked around the chamber, taking in the holographic displays, the pulsing containment field, and Lyanna's expectant expression. 3 hours ago, I was worried about making small talk at a diplomatic reception. Now I'm contemplating voluntary brain modification to facilitate interspecies communication. Either I've completely lost my mind, or this is the kind of opportunity that comes along once in several geological epochs. Probably both, Lyanna agreed. Here's what I want to know, Nathan said, moving closer to her. If I agree to this, do I get to negotiate the terms? Because I have some conditions that might be deal breakers for your collective. Such as? First, I want a trial period. Full neural interface for 1 standard year, with the option to withdraw if the experience proves incompatible with human psychology. Nathan held up a finger. Second, I want reciprocal access. If I'm joining your collective consciousness, I want Veil 3 volunteers to experience human individual awareness through the same process. Lyanna's dress patterns shifted rapidly, displaying what looked like furious calculation. Those are unprecedented requests. Which brings me to condition 3, Nathan continued. I want this to be a true cultural exchange, not a recruitment program. Humanity gets full access to Veil 3 technology and knowledge, and in return, we share everything we've learned about individual consciousness, creativity, and the benefits of controlled chaos. Controlled chaos. Jazz music, improvisational comedy, the entire concept of winging it, Nathan explained. All the things that emerge from individual consciousness operating without collective oversight. Lyanna was quiet for several minutes, her dress displaying patterns of increasing complexity. Finally, she looked up with an expression of genuine surprise. The collective finds your terms acceptable. More than acceptable, they're excited by the possibilities. Excited? Nathan raised an eyebrow. A telepathic species capable of controlled evolution is excited by the prospect of learning human improvisational skills. Apparently, your emotional chaos has created the first spontaneous innovation in Veil 3 technology in over 3 centuries, Lyanna said. The bioscanners have evolved 17 new functions just from monitoring our interactions. Nathan stared at her. So my anxiety and terrible jokes have accidentally upgraded alien technology? Among other contributions, Lyanna confirmed. So, Dr. Pierce, do we have an agreement? Nathan looked at the sealed doors, then at the holographic displays showing the neural interface specifications, and finally at Lyanna's hopeful expression. You know what? I came to this reception hoping to avoid embarrassing myself in front of important people. Instead, I've apparently stumbled into the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in human history. Is that a yes? That's a yes, Nathan said, then grinned. But I want it on record that if this goes horribly wrong, my last words were at least it beats filing xenolinguistics reports. The containment field dissolved around them with a sound like distant music, and the chamber doors slid open to reveal Commander Rodriguez and what appeared to be a joint human Veil 3 diplomatic team. Nathan noticed several individuals with pointed ears among the group, all wearing expressions of keen interest. Dar. Pierce, Commander Rodriguez said, looking remarkably unsurprised by the situation. I trust your cultural exchange was productive. You could say that, Nathan replied, taking Lyanna's hand as they walked toward the exit. Though I should probably mention that I'll be needing an extended leave of absence. Possibly several decades worth. Already approved, Rodriguez said with a smile. Welcome to the future of interspecies diplomacy, Dr. Pierce. Try not to accidentally start any more technological revolutions. Nathan squeezed Liona's hand and felt a warm pulse of connection that had nothing to do with alien bioscanners. No promises, Commander. Apparently chaos is my specialty.